At the start of the story, we meet a man named Robinson, who had spent his entire life working in the depths of the ocean. But even after so many years of hard work, there was no happiness left in his own life. One day, Robinson gets a call from the company. He thinks maybe he is about to receive a new mission, but as soon as he reaches the office, he finds out that the company no longer wants to keep him. His job is terminated that very day. Hearing this, Robinson is completely broken. The same company he had worked for honestly for years had thrown him out in just one moment. Robinson quietly picks up his belongings and leaves without saying anything. He had lost his job in an instant. On top of that, his personal life was also not going well. His family had already grown distant from him. Now he felt that even after spending so many years working hard and making sacrifices, he had ended up completely alone in life. After this, Karsten introduces Robinson to an investor who is willing to put money into this mission. He does not want to go into the depths of the ocean himself, but he has complete faith that this treasure really exists. He puts a clear condition in front of Robinson. If the mission succeeds and they find the gold, 40% of the entire treasure will belong to his company. The remaining 60% will be divided equally among everyone who goes on the mission. However, he knew that reaching the treasure hidden deep beneath the ocean would not be easy at all. Even so, Robinson agrees to the mission without thinking too much. Now the biggest task was to build a reliable team for this mission. Robinson calls his old friends and tells them everything because he knew that this mission was not something ordinary people could handle. So Robinson starts discussing his plan with his old companions. Robinson was taking the help of his friend Lewis to build the team. Just then, one of his old companions comes and sits with them, and, without any hesitation, agrees to become part of the mission. He was completely sure that no matter what happened, he would never leave Robinson's side until the very end. Robinson is just about to leave after completing the mission preparations when he notices a young lad named Tobin. The boy asks, "Are you Robinson?" Robinson raises his head and says yes. After remaining silent for a moment, the boy tells him that Mark Karsten has committed suicide. The moment Robinson hears this, he becomes completely numb. The boy explains that Mark had been suffering from mental problems and had been under the burden of debt for quite some time. Robinson remains silent for a few moments. Then he asks the boy, "Have you ever been to the sea?" The boy shakes his head and says no. Robinson takes him along and heads straight to the seaside, where the entire team is waiting for them. As soon as the crew sees the condition of the submarine, everyone is shocked. From the outside, it is completely covered in rust, and many of the machines inside have also been shut down for years. So the entire team works together to carefully check every machine, the engine, the oxygen system, and all the other important parts so that no major problem occurs during the journey. Before leaving, Robinson gives the entire team information about the mission. He tells them that if they find the treasure, 40% will go to the investor's company, while the remaining 60% will be divided equally among the entire team. Hearing this, Daniel raises a question, but Robinson clearly says that since everyone is risking their lives, everyone's share will also be equal. After this, the entire team sets off toward the depths of the ocean. The submarine slowly moves deeper and deeper into the sea. Every crew member is busy with his assigned duty, but Daniel's concern now seems to be coming true. The mission has barely started when the first argument breaks out between the British and Russian crew members. In the kitchen section, a Russian crew member gets into an argument with Fraser over a small matter. Both of them try to put each other down, and the situation starts getting heated. At the same time, another argument breaks out in the engine room between Tobin and a Russian engineer. The voices of both sides begin getting louder. As soon as Robinson hears about what is happening, he immediately goes to both places. He calms everyone down and says that if they become enemies with each other right here, then even reaching the Black Sea will be impossible. He reminds everyone that inside this submarine, no one person's work is less or more important than anyone else's. Every man here has equal responsibility. The journey starts again. For a long time, everything continues smoothly, but as soon as the submarine gets close to Russian waters, the sonar operator gives Robinson some dangerous news. His instruments are showing the signal of a Russian warship that is moving directly toward them. Hearing this, Robinson immediately gives the order to shut down the engine. In one moment, complete silence falls throughout the submarine. As soon as the sound of the engine stops, every crew member stands completely still at his position without making a sound. Finally, after a few minutes, the sonar operator tells them that the warship has changed its direction and is slowly moving away. Hearing this, everyone breathes a sigh of relief. Even then, Robinson does not rush. He keeps the submarine in complete silent mode for a little longer, and only after he becomes completely sure that the danger has passed does he order the engine to be started again. The submarine begins moving toward its destination once again. After traveling a very long distance, they finally reach the area of the Black Sea where the German submarine is believed to be hidden somewhere. But their problems are still not over. The tension between the crew members comes out once again. This time, the argument starts over a small bet. To find out the result, some crew members secretly turn on the radio. As soon as Robinson sees this, his face fills with anger. He immediately takes the radio away and breaks it without thinking for even a second. Everyone is left shocked. Robinson angrily says that because of one radio, the entire mission could have been ruined. If the Russian Navy had detected their signal, a torpedo would already have been coming toward them. He then gives everyone a final warning. He says that anyone who wants to stay on this mission has to work like one team, and if anyone does not agree with that, they are free to leave the mission. But Robinson's words only hurt both groups even more. The existing divide inside the submarine becomes even deeper. Meanwhile, Tobin makes a small mistake in the engine room. Blackie angrily scolds him. Fraser does not like this at all and starts taking Tobin's side. Their argument becomes so heated that Fraser angrily pulls out his knife. Before anyone can understand what is happening, he attacks Blackie with it. Chaos breaks out inside the submarine. Everyone is trying to separate Fraser and Blackie when suddenly, a terrible explosion occurs in the engine section because of a diesel leak. The entire submarine shakes violently. The lights start blinking repeatedly. People are thrown around, and because they lose control, the submarine begins falling deeper and deeper into the ocean. The blast is so powerful that the entire submarine loses its balance. Smoke, darkness, and the sound of emergency alarms fill the submarine. Nobody can understand what has happened. The submarine goes completely out of control and ends up stuck even deeper beneath the ocean. Around 18 hours later, Robinson finally regains consciousness. As soon as he opens his eyes, the tension on his face is obvious. He immediately looks around and checks on the other crew members. A large part of the submarine has been damaged in the blast. Some systems are completely shut down, while the wiring has burned in several places. The worst part is that 2 crew members have lost their lives in the explosion, while the remaining members have suffered injuries of different levels. But the real problem begins now. After the blast, the British and Russian crews completely split into 2 separate groups. The Russian crew starts hating Fraser because, according to them, the fight started because of him and caused Blackie's death. On the other hand, the British members also stop trusting the Russians. Both groups begin staying away from each other. The British crew takes control of whatever food is left inside the submarine, while the Russian members take control of the section containing water and drinks. Even though they are living inside the same submarine, both groups are now behaving like enemies. Seeing all this, Robinson understands that if things continue like this, everyone will kill each other before they can even find the gold. So he goes to Morozov, the leader of the Russian crew. Robinson calmly explains to him that at this moment, their biggest enemy is not each other, but the ocean. If they do not work together, none of them will make it out of here alive. Morozov also understands what Robinson is saying. He tells his men to stay calm and decides to focus on completing the mission for now. Meanwhile, Robinson discovers something else that leaves him shocked. Because of the explosion, the submarine had drifted into almost the same area where the German U-boat had sunk. In other words, the explosion had unknowingly brought them to the exact area that they would have needed to travel much farther to reach. Now they only had to find the exact location of the submarine. But another problem appears. The blast had also damaged their sonar system. Without sonar, finding another submarine at such a great depth was almost impossible. Just then, Baba, the Russian sonar expert, suggests a different method. He says that if the machine is not working, he will use an old naval method. Everyone looks at him in surprise. Baba starts hitting the wall of the submarine hard with a hammer. By listening to the vibrations created by the sound and the echoes coming back, he tries to determine whether there is any large metal object nearby. Everyone waits silently for his result. After trying for quite some time, Baba suddenly stops. A slight smile appears on his face. He tells Robinson that there is a very large metal object only a short distance away from them. Hearing this, hope returns to everyone's faces. Robinson immediately gives the next order. He tells Tobin, Fraser, and Peter to put on their diving suits. The 3 men check their equipment, connect the oxygen lines, and slowly open the submarine's hatch before moving outside. Deep inside the ocean, there is complete darkness all around them. With only the light from their flashlights, the three slowly move in the direction where Baba had detected the signal. After traveling some distance, they see a huge mound of sand in front of them. Caesar climbs on top of it and looks around, but he cannot see any submarine anywhere. He tells Robinson over the radio that maybe the signal was wrong. Hearing this, everyone's hopes inside the submarine begin to collapse again. The people sitting in the control room become disappointed after hearing Fraser's words. They feel that even after going through so many difficulties, their mission has failed. But Tobin is not someone who gives up so easily. He starts carefully examining the huge mound of sand. Something feels strange to him, so he slowly begins removing the sand with his hands. As soon as some of the sand is cleared, a large metal surface appears in front of him. Tobin immediately clears away more sand, and the next moment his eyes remain wide open in shock. Buried underneath the sand is actually a German U-boat. The symbol of Nazi Germany is also clearly visible on it. Seeing this, Tobin excitedly tells Robinson over the radio that they have found the submarine. As soon as everyone in the control room hears the news, their faces light up with happiness. The treasure they had risked their lives for was now only a few steps away from them. The three divers now reach the hatch of the German submarine. Even after being buried under the ocean for so many years, the hatch is still not completely damaged. After pushing together with all their strength, they manage to open it and slowly enter. Inside, everything is completely silent. Old equipment, broken instruments, and rusted compartments can be seen everywhere. Under the light of their flashlights, they also see the skeletons of German soldiers that have been lying there for all these years. There is even a picture of Hitler hanging on one of the walls. But the three men do not waste much time looking at anything. Their only focus is the gold. They begin checking the different compartments of the submarine. After a short while, Peter's flashlight falls on something shining. As soon as all three move closer, shock appears on their faces. In front of them is a huge stock of gold bars. For a few moments, the three men become completely silent after seeing so much gold. Then, without wasting any time, they bring out a trolley and start filling it with the gold bars. Each gold bar is extremely heavy, so the trolley slowly fills up. Once it is full, the three men begin pulling it out of the German submarine together. But this turns out to be much harder than they expected. The trolley keeps sinking into the soft ocean floor. Every few steps, they have to stop and use all their strength to move it again. After a lot of effort, they begin getting close to their own submarine. But suddenly, one small mistake changes everything. One of the trolley's wheels slips, causing it to turn toward a deep trench nearby. Before Fraser and Tobin can control it, several gold bars fall directly into the trench. Peter immediately tries to grab the falling bars, but he loses his balance, and he too begins getting pulled toward the deep trench along with the gold bars. Fraser and Tobin try their best to stop him, but the pressure of the ocean and the weight of his diving suit are too much, and Peter slips out of their hands. Within a few moments, he disappears into the dark trench. The two men try desperately to save him, but it is already too late. With no other choice, Fraser and Tobin return to their submarine with the remaining gold. As soon as the hatch closes, everyone asks about Peter. The two men silently look down. Their silence tells everyone the truth. Another member of their team was gone forever. But the mission was not over yet. The real challenge was now to return alive with all that heavy gold. After Peter's death, a strange silence spreads throughout the submarine. They had finally found the gold, but they had already paid for it with the lives of three of their companions. Robinson quietly stares at the gold bars for a while. Then he reminds everyone that this is not the time to celebrate. The real challenge has only just begun. Now they have to get this submarine out of the Black Sea with all that heavy gold inside. Meanwhile, Robinson counts the remaining crew members. He realizes that there are no longer enough people to operate the submarine safely. Everyone will now have to take on more responsibility than before. Robinson tells Daniel, the investor's assistant, that he also has to stop just watching and start working. Daniel reluctantly agrees, but the tension on his face is obvious. A little later, Daniel takes Robinson aside. He quietly tells him that it is still not too late. They should leave the gold behind and simply save their lives. Robinson immediately cuts him off. He did not come this far just to return empty-handed. Daniel tries to convince him again. He says that the danger from the Russian Navy on the surface is one problem, while the condition of their submarine deep underwater is another. If they take this risk, there is a chance that none of them will make it out alive. Robinson listens carefully to him, but there is only one thing on his mind: completing the mission. Then Daniel reveals a truth that completely shocks Robinson. Daniel says that the story they were told about this mission was not the complete truth. In reality, the businessman they had been told about had never invested any money in this mission. The entire operation had been planned by Robinson's old company. The company had made a secret deal with some people in Georgia. The plan was to have Robinson and his team bring the gold out, and as soon as the gold was found, the entire crew would be eliminated forever. That way, they would not have to pay anyone, and there would be no witnesses left. Hearing this, Robinson remains completely silent for a few moments. He cannot believe that the same company he had given his entire life to had already planned his death. After some time, Robinson calls the entire team into the control room. In front of everyone, he tells them the whole truth that Daniel has revealed. As soon as they hear this, the crew members' anger turns toward Daniel. Several of them try to attack him, but Robinson steps between them. He stops everyone and says that if they start fighting each other now, the company's plan will succeed without them even having to do anything. Everyone slowly calms down. Robinson now makes a new decision. He says that they will not return through the Russian route. Instead, he will take the submarine toward Turkey. He has an old contact there, and perhaps that will be their safest option. But this route is extremely dangerous. The water along this route is shallow, there are huge rocks, and there is very little space to move. Even one small mistake could bury the submarine forever at the bottom of the ocean. Daniel and Fraser both oppose Robinson's decision, but Robinson is not ready to change his mind. For him, there is no point in turning back now. With this decision, the entire team begins another deadly journey. After hearing Robinson's new route, the atmosphere inside the submarine becomes even more tense. Everyone knows that the route toward Turkey is extremely dangerous, but now they have no other option. Robinson checks the route on the navigation table and then orders the engine room to move forward slowly. The submarine carefully begins moving in its new direction. Throughout the journey, Robinson keeps checking the depth meter, compass, and sonar readings. He does not want to take any unnecessary risk. On the other hand, Daniel is thinking very differently. He believes that if the number of crew members becomes even smaller, Robinson will be forced to bring the submarine to the surface, and then perhaps Daniel will be able to save his own life. With this thought in mind, Daniel secretly goes to Fraser. He starts poisoning Fraser's mind against Robinson. Daniel tells him that Robinson only cares about the gold. The lives of the crew mean nothing to him. If they do not do something now, everyone will die inside this submarine. Fraser ignores him at first, but Daniel keeps provoking him again and again. Meanwhile, Robinson is busy setting the route in the control room while Fraser and the others are handling their duties in the engine room. After some time, the submarine reaches an area where the water suddenly becomes much shallower. The navigation instruments begin giving warnings. Tension becomes clear on everyone's faces. Huge underwater rocks are directly ahead, and there is only a very narrow path between them. If the submarine moves even slightly in the wrong direction, it could crash straight into the rocks. Fraser tells Robinson to change the route. Daniel also supports him, but Robinson refuses. He believes that if they get through this route, they will have the best chance of avoiding the Russian patrols. Fraser angrily starts arguing with Robinson, but Robinson pulls out his pistol and points it at him. He clearly tells Fraser that inside this submarine, the captain's order is final. Fraser is forced to remain silent and returns to his duty. The submarine slowly begins passing between the narrow rocks. Everyone sitting in the control room holds their breath while watching the instruments. Every inch of movement is being made with extreme care. But in the engine room, Daniel approaches Fraser again. He provokes him once more and says that if they do not stop Robinson now, everyone's death is certain. This time, Fraser's anger goes completely out of control. He suddenly attacks the Russian engineer Zaitsev. The attack happens so quickly that Zaitsev cannot even defend himself. Chaos breaks out in the engine room. But in the middle of this chaos, the engine controls are disturbed, and at that exact moment, the submarine loses its balance. In the control room, Robinson realizes that the steering is not responding properly to his commands. He immediately tries to contact the engine room, but by then, it is already too late. With a huge crash, the submarine slams into the rocks in front of it with full force. The entire submarine shakes violently from the impact. The lights begin blinking, and several people fall to the floor. Because of the collision, a short circuit occurs in one section and immediately causes an explosion. The submarine's hull begins to crack, and within moments, seawater starts rushing inside at tremendous speed. As soon as the submarine crashes into the rocks, emergency alarms begin ringing everywhere. The powerful impact throws several crew members to the floor, while the lights in the control room keep blinking. The very next moment, seawater starts pouring through the cracks in the hull. Robinson immediately orders everyone to take their positions. Some crew members rush to close the emergency valves, while others try to temporarily seal the leaking sections. Everyone puts in all their strength, but the water pressure keeps increasing every second. Meanwhile, Tobin is knocked unconscious after hitting something from the impact. Robinson immediately reaches him. Morozov also helps him. Together, they drag Tobin toward the control room and try to bring him back to consciousness. But the condition of the submarine is getting worse with every passing moment. In the engine room, the water has already risen above the crew members' knees. The people trapped inside are desperately trying to get out. At this moment, Daniel makes a decision that leaves everyone shocked. To save his own life, he closes the watertight door of the engine room. As soon as the door closes, the people on the other side become trapped inside with the rising water. Daniel runs toward the control room without looking back. He only cares about saving himself, but the pressure of the ocean is so powerful that after a short while, even that heavy door breaks. The rushing water starts entering the other sections of the submarine again. Daniel panics and tries to close the next door, but as soon as he pulls the door, his belt gets caught between it. He tries with all his strength to free himself, but the belt becomes stuck even tighter. Daniel desperately calls out to Morozov and asks him for help. Morozov looks toward him. He remembers how many people have died because of Daniel, and how Daniel abandoned everyone in the engine room just to save himself. For a few moments, the two men stare into each other's eyes. Then, without saying a word, Morozov closes the control room door. Daniel remains trapped in the same place. Soon, the powerful flow of water pulls him away, and his story ends there. Meanwhile, Robinson continues trying to bring Tobin back to consciousness. Finally, Tobin slowly opens his eyes. Now, only Robinson, Morozov, and Tobin are still alive inside the control room. All three understand that saving the submarine is no longer possible. At this moment, Robinson suddenly remembers the 3 life jackets he had hidden from everyone at the beginning of the mission. He immediately opens the emergency compartment and takes the jackets out. As soon as Tobin and Morozov see the life jackets, both of them are shocked. Morozov looks at Robinson angrily for a moment. He feels that if these jackets had been available earlier, perhaps some more people could have survived. But the next moment, he understands that Robinson had not hidden them out of selfishness. He had hidden them on the very first day to prevent the crew from killing each other. There was no point in arguing now. Robinson puts a life jacket on each of them. Then Tobin asks an important question. He says that even if they get inside the escape pod, who will release the pod? Because to get out, someone will have to remain in the control room and pull the release lever. Robinson remains silent for a few moments. Then he says that there is also an emergency release system inside the escape pod. Just get inside. I will come right after you. Tobin and Morozov trust Robinson's words. Both of them get inside the escape pod. Robinson gently closes the hatch of the pod. Then he goes to the control panel and grabs the release lever. After taking a deep breath, Robinson pulls the lever. The very next moment, the escape pod separates from the submarine and starts moving rapidly toward the surface of the ocean. Tobin and Morozov, sitting inside, believe that Robinson will soon follow them in another pod or through the emergency system. After some time, they see a life jacket floating up through the water. Both of them happily move toward it. They think Robinson has survived, but as soon as they grab the life jacket, their happiness disappears in an instant. Robinson is not inside it. The life jacket is filled with gold bars. Before dying, Robinson had filled the life jacket with as much gold as he could, so that Tobin and Morozov would not return empty-handed. Seeing this, both men's eyes fill with tears, and with this emotional ending, the story of Flaxey comes to an end.